Welcome to the first episode of Railgood Bets. By the way, we are open for business. If you want to sponsor this new show, this new offshoot, my name is Joe Bianca. I'm an ownership advisor at West Point Thoroughbreds. So excited to get into the Breeders' Cup card with a buddy of mine. Jim, tell the people who you are.
Hey, Joe. Jim Politano here. I'm an owner also. A couple of horses with Thoroughbred, but a bunch on my own. Based in New York and Philly racing, and happy to be here. Let's give out all the winners. That's it. No losers.
First race of 14 on the two-day 40th edition of the Breeders' Cup World Championships. We'll try to go through these pretty quickly so you're not sitting here for an hour and a half like all those other lame podcasts that handicap the Breeders' Cup. So we got a full field, 12 horses in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint to get things going. West Point has an interest in here. We've got the 11 Slider, who I love to pieces, not just as a horse, but also as a handicapper. I love his chances as well. The favorite in here is a shipper, Big Evs, for Michael Appleby. This is the first Michael Appleby horse I've seen in the Breeders' Cup. A lot of Charlie Appleby horses. He won the Flying Childers Stakes last time by 2 3/4 lengths, 104 time form rating. If he runs back to that race, looks pretty tough. Got a couple other shorter prices that are in the mix as well. The one Crimson Advocate, who won the Queen Mary for our friend George Weaver at Royal Ascot earlier this year, has been off since that race. No Name Mets, who's 3 for 3 on American soil, also for George Weaver. I mentioned Slider. Jim, I think you want to find some value in this race. It's going to be a little bit of a scramble. Who are you looking towards?
This one is not going to have value. I love the 4. I love Big Evs in there, and I do like the West Point horse a lot. I think that's where the value is. I mean, they got him 8-1 morning line. I think he's going to go a little higher than that. I think George has 3 in here, and all 3 seem pretty legit. I would love Crimson Advocate if he had one race under his belt, under her belt, coming back from Ascot. Not having run since June, that makes it a little bit tricky. And then coming back out to California, training in New York, and then back out to California. So it's a big ask.
For sure. I think, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
And in that situation, I kind of like No Name Mets out of the 3 George horses. I think that's the best and most likely to hit the board in there.
Yeah. No, and I wonder about the speed in this race because it's such a scramble. If you get caught wide on that turn, you're pretty much screwed. So I honestly would lean away from the outside horses except for Slider, just because I think he's the kind of horse that can make his own trip. If you haven't watched the Speakeasy Stakes, go back and watch it. He ran great, better than it looks on the figure because he kind of drifted out a bit on the turn and came back down towards the rail. Jim and I are going to try to put together a little pick 5 ticket for the 5 races on Friday, and then we're going to do some multi-race bets for Saturday as well, just to kind of bring you into the handicapping discussions that are going to go on all across the country this weekend with a bunch of buddies getting together, putting tickets together. Jim, to me, the only ones in this race that are must uses for me are the 4 Big Evs and the 11 Slider. Is there anybody else you want to throw in that you cannot have beat you?
I agree 100%. Maybe No Name Mets might be the only other one that I would throw in there. Again, it's wide open beyond those 2. If you want to do 4-11 and isolate those 2 and then go deeper somewhere else, I'm game for that. Of course, that takes the chance that we're knocked out in the first race. So.
Of course. Well, and this is how putting those tickets together works. Is like we'll start with 2, 4, 11, and then we'll go on later in the ticket, and we'll see. Maybe we'll have to go back and chop somebody off. We're going to start with a $300 budget. Should have mentioned that. We can put that up on the screen. $300 budget for Friday's Pick 5. So we'll start with 2, 4, 11, and then we'll see where we go from there. The next race is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. We have 13 horses in here. Big time favorite. This is going to be probably the biggest favorite of the weekend is Tamara, the daughter of Beholder by Bolt Doro for Dick Mandella's 2 for 2 so far. And to me, Jim, she could not have been more impressive in the Del Mar debutante. Just absolutely inhaled the front runner on the turn without being asked. Ears pricked, kicked away in the stretch. This is a guy who knows how to win on the big day. We always remember that 2003 Mano Mandela. What a day for Richard Mandela, the Tom Durkin call. To me, she's a stick out and is a single, but I think there's a couple others that you could toss in there. Where are you at on Tamara?
It's hard to get around that one. I mean, it looks like the distance is going to help her as well. I mean, there's nothing not to like there except for the fact that she's going to be 3 to 5. That's the only thing I don't like about that. The one that I like, and I know it ran a total dud last time out, is Brightwork. That race at Saratoga 2 back was very, very impressive when Ways and Means was rolling along, and came back and beat that one. So I think if you get, 12, 13, 14, 15 to 1 on Brightwork, I might go too deep in this one. There's really nothing else. It's difficult to go around the 7 and the 9.
I think the question for me is, what happened last time with Brightwork in the Alcibiades? Now, was that just a one-off race where she didn't, she didn't show up for whatever reason, or is she a better filly going one turn? Because her previous 4 races were around one turn. What do you do as a handicapper in those situations? You just draw a line through it?
I like the fact that if you just throw out that race, both these horses are huge favorites. They're nose and nose. If you can get 12 to 1 on a horse that probably without that race would be 2 to 1, I'm going to take it. And hopefully that was just a fluke in that one last time. That race was horrible. Don't get me wrong. That was pretty bad. That was painful to watch. But the timing works out right. It's been a month. So I like the timing of it. And like I said, we're going to get value there. I'd give it a shot. I don't want to single anybody in this card. I really don't like the idea of singling anybody.
All right. The only other horse there's actually 2 other horses that I was looking at, and they're shorter prices, so I'm curious to get your input on them, is Candide, who did beat Brightwork and a couple other horses that are returning in the Alcibiades. And then the 12, Just FYI, who ran well in the Frisette. It was not the strongest Frisette field you're ever going to see, but I thought coming off the maiden win, stretching out, that was a good effort. Problem is she draws outside in the 12 hole. Tough to see her getting over and being able to save enough ground. Would you use either of Candide or Just FYI in here?
I would definitely use Candide because I like her coming off the pace. If there's something heavy up top, she's going to be the closer. She's definitely going to be coming from somewhere, and going to get a piece of it. Probably, maybe second, maybe third, maybe even if the pace totally falls apart, she's the one to pick it up. Yeah, if you want to go 3 deep, I'm good with the 1. The outside horse, same thing. The 12 horse, the post just really turns me off. And I don't think there's going to be enough value there. When I look at that compared to the Brightwork, I think Brightwork's going to be a higher number, and I think has a better shot to be either in the money or even win it.
All right, so let's do that. We're going to do 179, and then I think it would make sense to go back and punch the 7. Do a press ticket, singling the 7. So I'll pencil that in for a second ticket because just, if you do get the price home, you kind of want to have the upside potentially. You went narrow, you want to spread a little bit in the other races. You can still get paid if you catch a price, if you have the right single. So on the main ticket, we're so far 2, 4, 11, 1, 7, 9. And then we're going to single Tamara on one of the smaller tickets. Next one is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf Full Gate, as you would expect. 14 horses. This to me looks like a pretty wide open race, but this is honestly one of my strongest opinions of the entire weekend in this race.
Let's see if we land on the same one.
We'll see. If so, we might have to single. And to me, that's Carla's Way in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Like, she ran an absolutely dynamite race last time in the Rockfell Stakes at Newmarket. Go watch that replay if you haven't seen it. She was chasing a fast pace. It looked like an American dirt race. Like the top 2 had separated by like 7 or 8 lengths from the rest of the field. She blew past the pace setter who started to spit it at around the quarter pole, and she just kept on rolling to win by open lengths. And she was flattered in that race. She won by 2 1/4. The second place horse and the third place horse both came back to run 1-2 in the Group 1 Fillies Mile next time out. So they obviously were quality horses behind her. So I think that flatters her effort. She's third off of a short layoff here. Question is whether or not she's going to get 2 turns. But that's my strongest opinion of the weekend is the 9 Carla's Way in here for Jack Doyle and Simon Christopher. Who do you like in here, Jim? I got her ranked 3rd. So I have again, value on top. I like the 11. She feels pretty. The Woodbine race, see some of those buyers I throw out when you see a buyer of 85 out of the blue at Woodbine, I don't feel like that's all that legit, but I think the race was solid. It looked like a very impressive race. And the other one I kind of like, and there's a lot of value here, is Galabrand, number 7, Bill Mott. That one, similar in the last race, that last race was kind of a dud, where she finished 4th in there. But I liked the race before. The With Anticipation was very impressive. Young fillies running against the boys. I kind of like that every once in a while.
and she ran very well in there. I like all three of them. The one that you picked, as well as the 7 and the 11.
The only other one I would throw in is the other Aiden O'Brien. It's a Donica O'Brien horse.
Oh, yeah.
Porta Fortuna, who's the 6. She won the Cheveley Park Stakes last time out. She was 3rd before that in another Group 1 race. She's run 6 times already, has won 4 times. Caravaggio was a great miler, so I have no problem with her stretching out and getting the mile distance. And then the other one I would look at is the Phil Bauer horse, Buku, who just flew down the stretch, went from 11th to 1st in a quarter mile or so in the Jessamine Stakes. I like her. I like Porta Fortuna. So this is a race I would spread a little bit. And then for me, I would press our 2 top choices, the 9 and the 11. So how about this, Jim? I think 3, Buku, 6, Porta Fortuna, 7, Galabrand, 9, Carla's Way, and the 11, She Feels Pretty. Beautiful. 5 deep. And then on the press ticket, let's use both of our top choices, the 9 and the 11.
Beautiful.
That sound good?
Yeah, love it. Love it. Yep.
Okay, so where am I at? 3.
Want to make sure our budget's not getting blown out this early.
I know. We'll go back and readjust if we have to. So 3, 6, 7, 9, 11. And then on the press ticket, we'll go 9 and 11. All right, 3 races down on Friday, 2 more to go. Next race is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. This is a race where you got a couple of Bob Baffert horses who are going to take a lot of money. But to me, the race goes through Locked, the 6 for Todd Pletcher. I just thought he was incredibly impressive in the Breeders' Futurity. I said this on the main Rail Talk show. He had that blowout win at Saratoga where he won by 7 1/4. And you just never know, is that a one-off thing? Is the horse just, does he just get loose in the stretch and look better than he is? Because then he really had to be in a dogfight in the Breeders' Futurity. He was wide around both turns. Horse that was second in the race, who I actually like a little bit in here, the Wine Steward. He got the dream trip right up the rail. Looked like he was going to turn Lock back, and Lock just re-engaged and got past him again. To me, that was the most impressive race I've seen any 2-year-old run this year. What do you think of him? And is there anybody else that catches your eye?
100% game. I think the same thing. That race at Saratoga just totally romped, got everything his way, totally different. And then in the last race at Keeneland, just absolutely game. So this one here, the only thing that concerns me, I like the 2 a little bit. I'm a little concerned at the distance because he's only gone 7 furlongs. That's the longest he's gone.
It's Prince of Monaco for Baffert.
Yeah, Prince of Monaco. And then I got on top the other Baffert horse, the 10, Muth.
Yeah.
Muth.
We'll say Muth. Sounds cooler than Muth.
Yeah, and again, a Baffert horse. I mean, they paid $2 million for him. Obviously, they love him. He's in a great spot here. I don't know how much value we're going to get. They got him 4-1 morning line, and then Chad's horse might have a little bit of shot coming out of the Champagne. I got him rated in there 4th. He could pop up and win this thing too. I love Manny, obviously. I mean, got his 2,000 to win the other day, so that was great to see.
Shout out to Manny.
Yeah, I find that this one is wide open. I got yours in there, the 6. Yeah, Locked is tough. I don't know how deep we want to go here.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky race for sure because I lean towards the 6 and I wouldn't say a single, but it's a strong top selection. But I'm with you on General Partner. I thought he ran one of the most impressive maiden races of the year, I think, in that September 2nd race at Saratoga. Yeah. I mean, that was a good field. He just cruised away. And then in the Champagne, I thought he ran really well. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards Timberlake in here over him because he beat him by 4 1/4 lengths. So that's a reasonable reason. Yeah. But I just think Timberlake had a much, much softer trip, got to sit back, then make that one run. General Partner was getting pushed through very fast fractions, 22:49, 45 and 44 on a sloppy track. That's flying. He had every right to just pack it in, but he stayed on in the stretch with 6 1/4 clear for second. The only other horse so I definitely want to put him in there. I would say the 8 and the 6 are the 2 most likely winners for me. The only other horse I want to mention is Fierceness because he ran the hole in the wind in his maiden win, won by 11 1/4 lengths, looked like the best 2-year-old run in. And then he goes to the Champagne, a little bit of an awkward start, but it wasn't a huge excuse. And he just completely packed it in, just had no run whatsoever at 1-2. Jim, this is more of a philosophical question. Like, what do you do with horses like this, young horses who just ran their eyeballs out first time out on the lead, had to sit off next time out and completely spit it. What do you do?
So I feel like Todd has a tendency to know what he has under him. So that race might be a fluke, and he knows it. So his game plan was to get to the Breeders' Cup no matter what. After that horse broke his maiden, that was his plan. No matter how the horse ran in the Champagne, I think this was his goal. So that, and you're going to get value there. I think that's the type of horse that may creep up and go in the 10-1 range in a race like this. Because like you said, Timberlake is going to take a ton of money too. I think General Partner is going to take some money. Locked is going to take some money. So you may get 10-1 in there. You want to go deep? I'll do that one. I'm in.
All right. So I think we should go, I think we should press Locked and General Partner, unless you want to put one of the Baffert horses on the press ticket, which I'm cool with. Who do you prefer out of the Baffert horses, the 2 or the 10?
The 10. The 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. All right. So on the press ticket, we'll go 6, 8, 10. And then I think on the main ticket, we can throw in, what was it, the 9 Fierceness.
Yeah.
And then we'll throw in Prince of Monaco too. My only problem with Prince of Monaco was that I just thought he's 1-20 in the Del Mar Futurity, man. And he won by 3/4 of a length. You don't often see horses 1-20 win like that. It was a little bit of a step back for him, but he's got talent for sure. A little risky leaving Timberlake off, but I just think he just got a dream set up last time. So how about this? So we go, go ahead.
And I do think there's going to be no value there. I think when the smoke clears, he might be the favorite. When everything's over. And I'm okay in a situation like this, that the race is pretty wide open, leaving out the favorite. I'm good.
He's also the kind of horse that's going to get a lot of casual money because of his name. There'll be a lot of Justin Timberlake fans in the crowd at Santa Anita who are going to be all over him. I don't know if those same people play multi-race tickets like we're doing here.
Are you giving out that you're a Justin Timberlake fan? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love JT except for maybe
great.
Britney Spears? Sorry. So what do we got here? We got 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, and then we're going to press the 6, 8, and 10. So where are we at right now? We might have to cut somewhere here. So
should we wait till the end and then we'll start dissecting?
Yeah. So we're right now on the main ticket. We're 3 by 3 by 5 by 5. So doing the math,
God.
5 by 5, 25 times 4.5. Yeah, so we're at 112.50 for 50 cents so far, and the last race is a little bit tricky, so we might have to go a little bit slimmer here.
Yeah.
And last race of the day on Breeders' Cup Friday is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, another one where we got a West Point horse, Carson's Run. Unfortunately, he drew the 14 hole. Yeah, he's a deep closer, so maybe it doesn't matter that much, but I just don't want to see him last of 14 early. It's going to be very hard to pass 13 different horses. To me, the most interesting horse in this race from a handicapping standpoint is the Aidan O'Brien horse, unquestionable, with Frankie Dettori. He's not going to be any kind of price, but I just love his progression, and I love the race he ran last time out over at Longchamp. He was a good second despite having some traffic trouble early. This is a tricky race, but I just think this is the kind of race where you lean towards the Euros. To me, he's the more interesting one. River Tiber, obviously, going to be favored. He's only been 6 furlongs, though. Just don't want a horse stretching out like that necessarily as the favorite. How did you see this race, Jim?
Okay, here's where I'm going to pull my long shots out. So I like the 3, believe it or not. Talk, yeah. And the thing I like, if you watch that last race at Keeneland, he was in traffic the whole stretch, had no opportunity, but he was full of run. I think this horse is going to run outside of 20-1. I mean, he's going to go higher. And I think he can be in the money. I also like the 5 a little bit. There's not much speed in the race. And I think the 5 can get things his own way if he really, does it, gets out there a little bit. I do like the West Point horse a lot. And I think he can close and definitely pick up the piece, and we got to throw him in there. And he is one that the post really doesn't matter because I think he's going to be a mile behind. And the question is anybody going to go out there with the 5? There really is not a whole lot of speed with him.
Nah, that's the thing I looked at. That's the first thing I looked at when I saw the pre-entry was just how little early speed there was. I mean, the only thing is, like, he was the main speed in the summer stakes, and Carson's Run ate him up in the stretch. The thing is, though, that's a different stretch. The Woodbine stretch and the Santa Anita stretch, 2 very different closing last couple of furlongs. Woodbine is way wider. It's way longer. So I worry a little bit about the tightness of the stretch and the shortness of the stretch here. So yeah, I do think that My Boy Prince is sneaky. I just, River Tiber maybe could be forwardly placed, stretching out to a mile. I just think, this is one of those scenarios, Jim, where it's like, it can't be that obvious in terms of a pace standpoint. Like, everybody else is going to see what we see. And it's not like it's a 16 claimer. This is the Breeders' Cup. I think everyone else is going to be like, okay, someone's got to go. But yeah, I do think he's got to be thrown in at a price. So we are way over budget.
Do you think the 2 goes with him? If you think the 2 goes with him, then we can leave the 5 out.
I think he's got to at least put some pressure on. But yeah, like you're saying, is if he doesn't go, who could possibly run with this horse? So here's what I would do. I think on this ticket, we got to chop down in the juvenile fillies and single Tamara. And I think that's the only way we're going to keep this under $300. I know you don't like single and chalk, but I think that's the only way we're going to do this. And then I think we can spread on the backup ticket instead of doing a press ticket. We could do the 179 in the backup ticket.
Absolutely.
And then just with our A's the rest of the way.
Yeah. Where does that put us at? Do you know where we're at?
Yep. So if we single Tamara now, we're 3x1 by 5x5. So that's 37.50. That gives us the freedom to spread in this race. I would go 2, 3. Sorry, John, I love you, but I'm not using Can Group. Famous last words. 2, 3, 5. I think Agate Road is interesting. He's got a big closing kick. 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. Michael McCarthy's horse undefeated, and then Carson's Run. So that would be 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 14. Where does that put us at? Let me see. 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 14. So that's like 3 by 1 by 5 by 5, 37, 50, 27. So we're at 252.50, I believe. Let me do the math. I'm usually pretty good at this, but since this is an official podcast, I got to break out the calculator. 3 by 1 by 5.
You should have the DRF ticket maker in front of you.
That's right. What am I thinking? Okay, so that's 262.50. We might have to do even more cuts there to get under 300. But that's the main ticket. I feel good about that. Yeah. 2, 4, 11 with 7, with 3, 6, 7, 9, 11, with 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, with 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 14. So that's 262.50. In the backup ticket. Right now, we're at $9, 179 with 911 with 6, 8, 10 in the middle 3 legs. Last in the final race in the juvenile turf, if you had to pick one horse, Jim, who would you put in? Mine would be the 8. Mine would be unquestionable.
I would pick the 5 just in case he goes wire to wire.
All right.
My boy,
so we'll do 5-8 on that ticket. So
of course we're going to throw up if the 3 wins. So
we'll have him on the main ticket. We're just going to need some chalk earlier on.
Oh, and I'm going to bet him heavy all by himself if he goes heavy. Hi.
Yeah, we already know what your handle's going to be like this weekend outside of this ticket. This is playing with pennies for Jim, trying to get down to a $300 pick 5 ticket. So I think if we go too deep in the juvenile turf sprint, just use 411. I think that gets us under 300. So 411 with 179 with 911 with 6, 8, 10 with 5, 8. So that's $36. That gets us just under $300. I will send this ticket to Patty so she can put it up on the screen. But just to give it to you one more time, main ticket. And it's Friday's Juvenile Future Stars Friday, pick 5. We're going 2, 4, 11 with 7, with 3, 6, 7, 9, 11, with 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, with 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 14, hoping to get live to half the field in the last leg. That's a $262.50 ticket for 50 cents. And then in the backup ticket, 411 with 179 with 911 with 6, 8, 10 with 5, 8. That's $36. Jim, we did it. We got under $300 total. Let's move on to Saturday.
And you know what? I guess you got to find a single somewhere. That's the only way that we
That's
can,
what I mean.
That's the only way you can do it. And the 7 does make the most sense in that race.
Yeah, and she drew well. Yeah. She should like 2 turns, being out of Beholder.
Yeah.
So I think that makes the most sense. All right, so that's where we're at on Friday's pick 5. Let's move ahead to Saturday. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 Breeders' Cup races,
All right.
starting with the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile at 2:30. I could have sworn that there was an early pick 4 available here, but I guess I'm wrong. Yeah, let's do a little pick 5 again, starting on with race 3 on Saturday. You can't not mention what happened with Practical Move. I mean, it was just a horrible, horrible thing to read today. And it just seems like racing has been cursed this year in these gigantic races and these big spotlight weeks. So just want to extend condolences to everybody who cared for Practical Move. That was just devastating to watch. Unfortunately with him being out, we're scratched down to a field of 8. The big favorite obviously is going to be Cody's Wish. I feel 2 ways about Cody's Wish. If he runs his big race, he's obviously going to crush these horses. But I just don't love his last 2 races. I understand the Whitney was him trying something new, going a mile and an eighth, going 2 turns for the first time since his 3-year-old season. But he didn't run at all. He got dusted by Barrio and Zandon. And then the Vosburg, he was okay. But I thought he was going to kick away a little bit more from those horses. What do you do with Cody's Wish, Jim?
I mean, he on paper might be a single. I like Charge It a little bit. I think that's the only one that might be able to beat him. Algiers, maybe. I don't know. I would like to like National Treasure, but again, a couple of sour races recently. Difficult to go in that direction. I think Charge It's the only one that could possibly beat him. But on paper, he doesn't even have to be his best to win this race. That's
definitely true.
Yeah, he can run his last race back. He can't run with the Whitney back, but again, the distance, sacrificed him. But I don't know. I think we got to single him. Open up with a single.
The only other horse that's a little bit interesting to me, as I scroll down here throughout the rest of the field, I think Skippy Longstocking's a little bit interesting at a price. I think he's getting good at the right time. He got loose, obviously, in the Charlestown Classic, but I just think he's the kind of horse that's not gonna take much wagering attention. He tries hard pretty much every time. He's got enough speed to lay close. The only other one that kind of caught my eye was Zozos, but he just had everything his own way in the ACAC Stakes last time out. He beat Stage Raider by a length, who I don't like at all in here, so it's hard for me to justify using him. I would say I would put in Cody's Wish. Let's start with a single with him. I don't love singling like 1 to 5 or 2 to 5 shots in the first leg, because it's like, why don't you just pass and take the pick 4? But that's not what this show is about. We're going to give you a pick 5 ticket.
What are we going to talk about the race and not bet it? Come on. Still America last time I checked.
Unacceptable on Breeders' Cup weekend to pass on a race.
Skippy Longstocking, the only thing I don't like, the layoff lines, he ran in April, then he ran July and August and hasn't run since. That's a little concerning. And again, that race at Charlestown, I don't know. He'd have to be real big numbers for me to go in on him, but let's start with the single and see where we land.
Okay. Yeah. Let's single Cody's Wish, and then maybe on a backup ticket, we'll use him and Algiers. The more I look at Zozos, the more I think he's going to get loose. So maybe throw him on a backup ticket as well. So, So I'll put that as a backup right now, 3, 4, 6, 7. But on the main ticket, we're going to single Cody's Wish and spread. Next race is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. See, this is another one where I'm a chalk eater, but I will use the caveat that Inspiral's the best horse in the race. I don't think that there's a doubt that she's the most talented horse in the race, but she's only ever gone a mile. And that's by design. John Gosden's a smart guy. There were plenty of 1.25 mile Group 1s that she could have run in Europe, and he's been determined to keep her at a mile. Now she stretches out to 1.25 miles, shipping across the world, basically. Going to go around that downhill turf course, which is a little bit funky. I think she's the one. This is the kind of race, Jim, and I'm sure you see these races all the time, where it's like it's either the favorite or it could be freaking anybody.
Anybody.
Where are you at? Where are you at?
I would rather choose anybody because I saw the same thing. Why hasn't this horse gone longer at some point in her career where she's been set such great form? And if you're targeting this race, you think you want to throw something under her belt, going that distance just to see. Maybe he knows considerably more than we know in the horse can go.
I don't think that's a maybe.
Maybe the horse can go 2 miles and we just don't know, but you got to show me first, and you haven't shown me with the favorite. So I mean, you got to throw it in there. I like Chad's horse in Italian. Very consistent. Has run against iron. I think that's the horse to beat. I mean, the buyers are unbelievable. Really hasn't run a bad race in her entire career.
I mean, the question with her, to me, though, is similar to the question with Inspiro, because she got run down last time out going a mile. She got run down 2 back going a mile and an eighth in the Diana. She did run very, very well in the filly and mare turf last year, but that was going a 16th shorter and a mile and 3/16. She's obviously nails. She shows up every single time. One of the most admirable horses in racing. I think she definitely is one of the main contenders in here. Of the slightly longer prices, I think Fev Rover is interesting. She that Beverly D was a total cakewalk, but I thought last time she had to work a little bit harder in the EP Taylor over a softer turf course, and she really had to turn some horses back on the front end. She didn't just get loose. Those two, I think, are the main other ones.
I want to throw one more in there because I can't make heads or tails of some of these Japanese horses. In the 5, Win Marilyn has won some big races, likes the distance, is going to be, because nobody's going to know what to make of her form, she's going to be 25, 30 to 1. And I don't know if I throw her in a multiple race ticket, but maybe like on the bottom of a try or a super or something like that to build it up a little bit.
I'd throw her in the pick 5, especially since we're single in Cody's Wish to start. Like, we're going to need some value along the way. She runs back to that race she ran in the Hong Kong phase last year at Sha Tin. Like, that's, to me, as good as anybody has run in here other than in Spiral. So let's use her. Let's use the favorite. Let's use an Italian as well. We'll use Fev Rover, who I like a little bit. Only other horse I had slight lean to was Moira, but it's hard for me to take her after she just lost to Fev Rover and In the Moonlight. Just one other horse I wanted to get your take on before we move on. I mean, Warm Heart is a horse who's won back-to-back Group 1 races for Aidan O'Brien overseas. She's going to be a short price. I just wonder about the quality of those fields. You look at her time form ratings, they're not what you would usually see from an Aidan O'Brien horse, but she is an improving 3-year-old filly by Galileo. What do you do with her?
Again, see, that would be one that I would wait on to see what the value is. If she's close to one of the favorites, I'd almost like to leave her out, even though she does look like she likes the distance. And that's definitely, she's been going a mile and a half. She can go forever. But not at, 3 to 1 or 7 to 2 or 6 to 5 or 8 to 5 or just, there's no value there.
Yeah, I think she's a horse that you kind of have to use protectively in multi-race bets, but I think you want to beat her on top within the race. But I'm with you. I think the clear value, and we'll see what kind of price she ends up being, because I think the cat's out of the bag a little bit with the Japanese horses. I think people have caught on that they're live every time they ship into one of these spots. But I do think for sure the value of the race, at least on the morning line, is Win Marilyn. So we'll use her, we'll use Inspiral, we'll use Fev Rover, and we'll use an Italian and Warm Heart. I would do 156 on the press ticket with your top choice in Italian, Inspiral, and the Japanese horse.
Love it. Yep.
All right. Next is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. This is a race where I'm dying for somebody to beat Goodnight Olive, because there's no disrespect to her. She's a nice horse. She ran a 108 buyer in defeat last time, which you hardly ever see in this division. She's clearly the horse to beat, but man, if she runs any other race other than that 108, there's a bunch of horses who can beat her in here.
Like there's a couple I don't know what to make of, like the other Japanese horse that's in this race coming off the turf into this field. Why? What, I don't understand the move. And that's one that I would normally just cross right out and say, you got to show me first that you can even run on the dirt. And we haven't seen that. So I'd throw that out. The only thing that I think might have a shot, the 3-horse Ida, again, speed that might hold if nobody goes out there with her. That's it. Other than that, I don't know. Is Goodnight Olive a single?
Yeah, I mean, Society to me has got to be used as well. She had those 2 blowout wins last time out, and then in the Chicago, and then last time out at Charlestown. She's a freak when she gets loose. Maybe there's too much pace in here this time, but yeah, I hate taking a short price on Goodnight Olive because, like I said, like if she runs that last race, she's going to win.
Yeah.
But drawing the rail, especially, is she going to be able to run back to that? I would lean towards her and Society as the two clear favorites, but. One horse that I am a little bit interested in, and she got a good setup last time, but I just think she's getting really good at the right time, is Kirsten Bosch for John Sadler. She's a really beautiful daughter of Midnight Loot, and she's the kind of horse that if there is a pace meltdown in here, she's going to be flying late. She's going to be a good price. The John Sadler is off the duck, been off the duck now with his Breeders' Cup runners. Oh, yeah. He's obviously one of the top trainers in America right now. Ugiri, I thought, ran a really good race in the TCA, was really game to turn back Wicked Halo, but this is a much better field than she was in last time out. I'm okay going 1, 5, and 7 in here, and then we can press Goodnight Olive as the single.
Because Goodnight Olive is not getting anywhere near the lead. I see my fear is in this race, there is going to be some speed. She's going to get swallowed up and find herself in a very bad position early, and that could get her beat. And
we saw that. We saw that in the Derby City Distaff when she lost to Matarea.
Yep. And that could easily happen again. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we beat her.
All right. So
let's get the 5 or 7 home.
Yes, sir. So we'll go 1, 5, 7, and then we'll press the 1 on the second ticket. Moving on to the fourth leg of this early pick 5. This is the Breeders' Cup Mile. Honestly, this is a race that tripped me up a little bit. Gina Romantica, I love Chad Brown going after the boys in this race after she ran down in Italian last time in the First Lady. Clearly the best race of her career. A couple Japanese horses that are really interesting. Maude is coming back on short rest for Godolphin 3 weeks after winning the QE2. A lot of ways to go in here, Jim. Songline is the 5-2 favorite for Japan. She's the horse to beat. There's a lot of fillies and mares going against the boys here. So many ways to go. Where do you even start, Jim?
This one I went really deep. You got to like Songline in there. I like the 6 as well. Master of the Seas I find a little intriguing, but again, there's not enough value there. If that horse goes 7-2 or 4-1 or 5-1, that's not enough value for that horse, especially breaking from the 14. I don't know. I got 6, 10, 14 as my top 3. Mm-hmm. What do you got? Where'd you land?
I think more. I'm interested in More Than Looks for Cherie DeVaux. Yeah. I think he's gotten better and better as the year has gone on. I liked him a lot in the Hall of Fame two-back, but that was a soft turf. That was closer to soft than good in that race. And we've seen what Carl Spackler has come back to do. So, and I think, being drawn outside, I think he's going to be able to just drop back and make one run. He's not going to be affected too much by the draw. But I think the thing with Master of the Seas is, he lucked into a really, really good trip last time, breaking from the rail, and now he's in the 14 hole. So he's the kind of horse that I would be looking to play against, especially at a short price. Yeah. Even a horse like Kalina, who won the Prix de la Forêt last time at Longchamp, I think she makes a lot of sense as an improving 3-year-old filly. I think a lot of the real contenders are on the outside in here. I think the other Japanese horse, Wing Carnelian, is not impossible either. And I got to give a shout out to Casa Creed. What a nice horse, bro. Yeah. He just shows up every single time. Doesn't matter the distance, doesn't matter the track. I got to use him. He's been my boy for a while. And I think Gina Romantica's up there as well. So I would lean.
I think you said everybody now.
I think
except the 1. I think we'll leave it out the 1.
I would lean towards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, I would go 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, 11, 13, 14. Because that's, we single in the first race. We have the right to spread here.
Absolutely.
So 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, 11, 13, 14.
13 and 14.
All right.
We joke our good buddy Lamar that we're all good friends with. We
all
joke
Lamar.
About all Lamar. That's our thing. Yeah. He'll love this.
Shout out to our West Point buddy Lamar Sufora. He's a good dude. He loves to put together.
He came to our gig a couple of weeks ago.
Did he?
Oh man, we had a good time.
Oh, that's my guy. Yeah,
I'll send you some videos of him singing on stage with me.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, that's a good idea too for the next guest for Real Good Bets, is to have our buddy Lamar on. So yeah, we're going 8 deep. 8 deep in there. So let's figure out who we're going to press in here. Just come up with a couple of horses that we feel best about. I think you got to use the favorite, the 10. Yeah, I think I got to use the 11 as well. More than looks, I got to use. So that's 10, 11, 13. Casa Creed, I think, is the other one too. So to me, on the press ticket, I would go 3, 10, 11, 13. Any issues with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. So last leg of the early pick 5 as we try to motor along here is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. We've got 11 horses in here. Nobody that is just, is a total standout to me. Obviously, the Now horse is Idiomatic, who's won back-to-back grade 1s. She's gotten loose in both of those races. Now she's got a Dare Manor right to her outside for Baffert, so he's going to be aggressive. He's going to tell Juan Hernandez to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Idiomatic, and I liked her a lot in the personal ends and to beat Nest, but I just think this time as a short price with other speed to her outside, search results could put some pressure on her. Randomized is outside as well. I'm playing this race to be a pace meltdown, and I'm against Idiomatic. Jim, where do you stand?
I am exactly the same. I got Wet Paint coming from downtown winning this thing at 10 to 1 morning line. So I'm good with that. Again, that's another one. That's another filly that hasn't run since Saratoga. So there's a big layoff there. Runs good fresh though. I think this one's fine. And there's going to be a lot of value there. I think going to go more than 10 to 1 too. I think she's probably going to end up 12, 13 to 1 in here. I got search results second. And again, I'm feeling the same thing that I left the favorite out. I left the 4 out. We probably got to throw her in there just in case she is becoming a freak and getting really good. But I'm good with 7-6. I got 7-6 and the 9 for third.
The one horse that I would use as a price, and it's a guy who I liked this horse a couple years back, Blue Prize, when she won the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Santa Anita last time I was there in 2019. La Vida on the outside for Nacho Correas. She ran second last time out to Idiomatic in the Spinster. She was obviously up against it from a pace standpoint. I think she's going to get that set up this time. If you look at her late pace figures in the Timeform US ratings, she's right up there with Clairiere, and Clairiere is going to be like a fifth of her price. Yeah. So that's the bomb I would throw in there, and I'm not worried about the 11 hole because long run to the turn, and she's got the style where you can just drop back and make one run. So I agree with you on search results. I think so. Where are we at? A 4, 6, 7. I think you got to throw in Clairiere just because of the way we're projecting the race to unfold.
9,
I think
11.
4, 6, 7, 9, and 11 is the way to go in here. You good with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that one.
All right, so let's do some math. So we're singling Cody's Wish on the main ticket, 5 by 8 by 5 by 3. Let's do the math. That's 300 even, my guy, I believe. So we might have to just scrap the backup ticket. Let me make sure my math is correct here. Yes.
Who needs a backup ticket?
Do that?
Yeah. We don't need a backup ticket. No.
All in on Cody's Wish. Let's go. All right.
Yeah.
And then if he loses, you can just wheel it right back in the pick 4. I know all my degenerates out there.
Yep.
I've done that a million times. All right. So that's perfect. Even 300 for the early pick 5. 3 with 1, 2, 5, 6, 8 with 1, 5, 7. With 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, 11, 13, 14, with 4, 6, 7, 9, 11. That's the early pick 5 for Saturday. Let's move on to the late pick 5, or the late pick 4, the last 4 races of Breeders' Cup Saturday. We're going to do a little bit shorter budget here. We're going to do $200 because this is a pick 4 instead of a pick 5. Starts with the grade 1 Breeders' Cup turf. To me, this race, as it usually is, but not always, is all about the Euros. Augusta Rodin, to me, was one of the most impressive horses I've seen all year. Won the Epsom Derby, won the Irish Derby, won the Irish Champion Stakes. Didn't show up in the King George, but he just had a one-off thing, I think, in that case. He's been so impressive. A couple other Euros in here. King of Steel, who he beat twice earlier this year, is reeling back off a short rest, ran October 21st at Ascot. So I'm a little bit against him, even though I like him as a horse. The 2 Onesto, who was third last time in the Arc de Triomphe. He was third at 55 to 1. You're going to get a much shorter price this time. He makes a lot of sense to me, though. Jim, where'd you lean?
I like everything you're saying there. The 5 I have picked on top. Can Warlike Goddess compete here for a price? I mean, I love that last race. Came back to form a little bit. The 2 previously, that one on Belmont Day that we were together for was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
That was horrible. But came back a little bit better in the Glens Falls, and then the last race was really impressive. And I think we're going to get a nice ticket there. I think we're going to get the 12, all of the 12-1, because I do think all the foreign horses are going to take all the money. I think the 5 is going to end up being a huge favorite here. I think it's 8-5, 2-1, somewhere in there. Hard to get around though.
Yeah, no, and he's the right kind of horse. He's the right kind of improving 3-year-old for Aidan O'Brien. Son of deep impact, beautiful, beautiful horse. If you ever see him in person, Mostadaf for John Gosden. I think he'll probably be a close second choice. He won the Prince of Wales Stakes. He won the Juddmonte International last time out. I think that there's going to be a very, very fast pace in here, only because of 2 horses, the 12 Balladeer for George Papadromo and the 6 Get Smokin' from Mark Casse, who somehow stole the Turf Cup at 19-1 last time at Kentucky Downs, killed all my bets that day. But I think it's going to be those 2 winging it, and they're going to serve as rabbits for the rest of the field. The horse I'm most interested in your opinion on, Jim, is Up to the Mark, because he was clearly the best American turf horse this year. He missed some time between the Manhattan and the Keeneland Turf Mile last time out, but ran a great race to nail Master of the Seas in that race. Now he's got to stretch out to 1.5 miles. What do you do with him?
That's what's concerning, is the distance again. It's the second off the little bit of a layoff off the freshening. I do like that last race. That was a monster race. That was great. If this horse comes back and likes the distance, we got to throw him in there somewhere. Going back to Get Smokin' a little bit, that I don't think that horse has any shot in here, because the pace he's not getting in his own way like he did last time. That's just not going to happen. So when the pace starts breaking down, he's going to be the first one to pack it in, I think. So
that was such a speed favoring turf course. I don't know if you noticed that Kentucky Downs
got everything his own way, and it's just not going to happen here. So that's one I would definitely leave out. In the other speed horse that you mentioned, I would leave that one out too. The 12.
So I think what we got to start with is we got to use the 3 main Euros. I think we got to use Onesto, we got to use Augusta Rodin, and we got to use Mostadaf. I'm going to feel like an idiot if King of Steel wins, just because I've been so impressed with him earlier this year. But I just think it's too much to ask, coming back in less than 3 weeks, shipping across the world. If he does it, hats off to him. He's a really, really nice horse. But I'm against him in this particular spot. I think we got to use Up to the Mark as well. So how about we use the 3? No, I was going to say, let's use those 3 main Euros, and then we'll use Up to the Mark and Warlike Goddess.
Great.
All right, so we're going 2, 5, 8, 9, and 13 to start the last pick 4 of Breeders' Cup weekend in the Breeders' Cup turf. Moving on now to the last 3 races of the day. It's going to be an incredible day of racing. This is so interesting to me, and this is not a handicapping observation. Jim, why is the Breeders' Cup Classic not the last race anymore?
Is it because it's West Coast and they don't want it running too late?
But the race is at 3:40 West Coast time.
So 6:40 East Coast. That's the right time to do it. But I don't get it either, because the post time should have been moved up all the way around. Right. What's the post time on West Coast? 12 o'clock?
3:40, 6:40 Eastern. The last race is 5 o'clock West Coast, 8 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
So
I don't. It would be almost in prime time if you let it go as the last, or the one before the last race. You're at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I mean, perfect. It would have been great.
I don't know. To me, it's like WrestleMania having like
the big
Stone
one.
Cold against the Undertaker, and then having 2 matches after that. Like, it's gonna be such a downer for everybody except the people who have the horses in the race for the last 2 races. Anyway, off of that tangent, this race obviously had a major scratch reported earlier today with Arcangelo coming out. Of course, he's retired, because God forbid you bring a horse back as a 4-year-old to run who's only run 6 times before. He's such an admirable horse with admirable connections, and I would love to see him again selfishly, but I get it. The breeding shed calls. I get how this business works. To me, there are 2 horses that I'm interested in the Classic, and that's it. Everyone else I'm good on, and that's the 3 White Abario and the 8 Ushba Tesoro. the Japanese horse and the Rick Dutrow horse could not have two more polar opposite entrance in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I love what Rick Dutrow did with White Abarrio, and I was against him in the Whitney. I didn't like him at all. I always thought he was better going one turn. Proved me wrong that day. Crushed him by 6 1/4 lengths in the Whitney. And I love what Rick Dutrow did. Didn't mess around trying to get another prep in him. Sent him out to Santa Anita early. You can look at the workout line. He's been at Santa Anita since September 20th. He's got 5 workouts over there, one better than the last. He, to me, is the horse to beat in a certain manner of speaking, just because he's in the right form and he's been prepping for this since the Whitney. And Ushba Tesoro, like the race he ran in the Dubai World Cup was super, super powerful. He's won 6 in a row. Nice, easy prep last time out in Japan. Those are my main two. Jim, where do you lean in the Classic?
I'm exactly with you on those two. I do like the other Japanese horse, the 5, a little bit. And again, I'm trying to throw some value in the ticket because I think White Abarrio is going to be one of the favorites in there, so we're not getting value there with the one being scratched. Bright Future, maybe that might be a little bit of a ticket too for Todd. You know, that might add to it. I think that's it. I don't like Baffert's horse. I don't like Arabian Night a whole lot.
How on earth is that horse the morning line favorite? Like, am I crazy? Like,
it's everybody West Coast looking at Baffert, saying that his last race, the Pacific Classic was impressive. Not much in that field, though. I mean, he really didn't beat a whole lot.
That was nothing, and I get that he's a lightly raced horse. He cost $2.3 million. He's 3 for 4. But if he's the favorite, to me, he's by far, and this will blow up in my face, I'm sure, by far the worst favorite of the weekend. Because there's to me, on paper, he should be like 12 or 15 to 1, and he's the 3 to 1 favorite. It would be different if Saudi Crown wasn't in the race and you could say, oh, well, he's going to get loose because there's not a ton of speed signed on. But Saudi Crown is faster than him. So now he's got to sit off him, run down Saudi Crown, and hold off the closers. I just can't see it. I don't like him at all. Interesting on Bright Future. The question is he going to be able to lay off of those top two? Because the last 2 races where he's really stepped forward, he was right up there on the pace.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be that close to the pace here. And again with Arabian Night, so even if he does go with the speed, he's got to get to the rail somehow. He's got to tuck it in at some point and get comfortable, and that's not going to happen. I want to leave him out. Like, I don't even want to throw him in my ticket. I know he might be a big favorite, but
I'm with you.
I'd rather go deeper elsewhere and look for some value, especially if we're getting this far on the ticket. You know, we got a couple of races left. Let's nail something big.
Who
do you have on top?
With you. So we'll use let's throw Bright Future and the other Japanese horse in there. So we'll use White Abarrio, Derma Sotogake, Ushba Tesoro, and Bright Future. I think that gives us a good chance to cover the main horses that we like with a chance for a price. So that's 3, 5, 8, 11. And then, so we're 5 by 4 to start. I like Saudi Crown too. I respect the hell out of him, but I just thought, he was really gasping for the wire last time in the slop in the Pennsylvania Derby. He's come a long way in a short amount of time. He's game. He's a really nice horse, but I just kind of look at him more likely as a horse to win this as a 4-year-old next year than right now. Just for him and Arabian Night, I just think it's a little bit too much too soon. So
and he may end up running a monster race, and we may be proven wrong there. But he's one that I'm good leaving. Both of them I'm good leaving out.
No, that's good with me. So we're 5 by 4 to start the late pick 4. Next race is the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, full field of 12 horses with a couple of AEs. A lot of ways to go in here. A couple of interesting Euro horses as well. Last time out, I liked living the dream in the Woodford Stakes, the 5 in this race, because he's so damn fast, but he was just too fast for his own good last time. Went 20.97 for the quarter in the Woodford at Keeneland. You just don't see fractions like that, and 43-3 on the Keeneland turf. And he paid the price late, got run down, ended up 4th to Arzak, who's back in here. But I just think this race, cutting back a furlong, I don't know that there's anybody that's going to definitely be able to run with him, like our buddy No Balls, who's one of the best named horses in all of racing. He's fast for sure, but it's just, other than him, like, it's just interesting to find a Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint with not that much speed signed on. And just one other quick aside, like, I wish this race was going down the hill. It's just so much more exciting.
So much more fun
down the hill.
Now, why wouldn't they do that? Why isn't that set up to be done?
To me, and I'm just speculating here, I don't have any insight. I think they're worried about safety. And I just think that that decline, if God forbid somebody goes down, it's like, why are you having horses run downhill on your biggest day? I think that they're a little paranoid about that.
But that course has never been a problem. I mean, that's.
I agree.
I know it's kind of a weird dynamic to it, but it's not been the problem. Even when Santa Anita was having the issues, that wasn't the issue.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I just think that is part of the calculation, that it is a funky, configuration, like you say, and, people are going to get mad if God forbid something happens. But yeah, to me, I like the 5 a lot. I think he's just going to get a much better setup this time. The horse that interests me, at a little bit of a price, I don't know how much of a price she's going to be. But the 3-year-old filly or the 4-year-old filly stepping up, Roses for Deborah. She was, to me, one of the most impressive horses in New York all season. She won the Caress in dominant fashion. She won the Smart and Fancy in dominant fashion. And that last race is a total toss for me in the Turf Monster Stakes. I honestly with a horse like that, I'm surprised that she ran in the race because it just got so much rain. I thought they were going to scratch. She ran okay. She was third at 3-5. Total toss out race for me. Motorius is interesting for Phil D'Amato. He's going to need a little bit of a setup. Those are the main 3 for me: 5, 9, and 10. Jim, is there anybody that sticks out to you that I didn't mention?
I got Motorius on top, and I do have the 5 second. And then I like Gear Jockey a little bit. I like that last race. I thought that was a good race. And again, I'm looking for value, so I don't just want to go chalk across the board. I find this race the most wide open one. I can't nail this one down at all. Roses for Deborah, I see what you're saying. That course was horrible. That day at Parks, what a shame. It's their big day. I race a lot at Parks, and it's their big day of the year, and the weather was just brutal. Absolute shame that they couldn't get a beautiful day for that. It changed the whole tone of all those great races. It just changed everything.
For sure. Yeah. And the only other horse I would throw in is our buddy No Balls, just because I think, I love his name. The gelding, the Noble Mission gelding. I think he's a fighter. Like he'll dig in. Like he ran a really good race in the Troy over soft turf, where he went, you go under 22 for a quarter in soft turf. You're really running. Just got run down late. So I would throw him in as well. I'm against Caravel. I love her as a horse, but I just think this is a much better version of the turf sprint than we got last year. Emirati Anna was second in that race, and no disrespect to her, but she would probably be 20-25 to 1 in this race. I think there's some stronger Euros this time around. There's an Aidan O'Brien horse that's mildly interesting, Aesop's Fables, the 8. If he's a little bit of a price, I would toss him in. I think, I'm okay spreading in here a little bit. I would go, another horse I wanted to mention too is the horse that won the King's Stand, Bradsell, for Archie Watson earlier this year. Did not run well last time at the Curragh, but those 2 races before that put him right there. Did you give him a look?
I did, but not a whole lot. I just think there's better in here. Living the dream. Beat him 2 back, and I don't know. I don't know how far we can go. How deep can we go here?
Yeah. No, I think we're good. I think Living the Dream, Gear Jockey, No Balls, Roses for Deborah, and Motorius. Does that sound good?
Beautiful.
All right. So 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. So that takes us to the final race. So far, we're 5 by 4 by 5. So we're going to need to go a little bit narrow in this last race in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. If you can, I think this is the kind of race where if we can each pick one horse and we can get live to those 2 horses in the last race, I think I would take that. To me, Elite Power is right there. I think, he obviously got beaten the 4-go by Gunite, but I don't know that Gunite's going to be able to skunk him like he did last time. Tyler rode a great race in the 4-go. Elite Power has gotten to take a step back a little bit, came out to Santa Anita, breezed a best of 72 half-mile bullet. You can put him anywhere in the race. I loved his race in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. He's been the best sprinter in America for a year. To me, he's the main horse. Is there anybody else that sticks out to you that you have to use?
I mean, Gunite's the only one. I mean, Speedboat Beach intrigues me a little bit. That last race was just kind of a monster race for that one. But no, as far as have to use, no. I think it's 8, 9, and even if you wanted to single the 8, I'm good with that.
All right.
I don't see how he gets beat here. I really don't.
Yeah. And I think he's going to get this. I think he's going to get a good setup. I do agree with you that Speedboat Beach is interesting. And that was a big race to run off the layoff. Just got beat by a head by Dr. Scheibel in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. I'm honestly, I'm inclined to play against Gunite. I just think he's better in that 7 for a long range. Yeah. And I just don't think he's going to be able to get loose in here. So honestly, if you want to go 7-8 and leave Gunite out and just close to 7-8. All right, so we'll do that. So that's, we are so good at this. We're nailing it. The tickets are, we had a $300 budget for the first one. We got in at $298.50. We had a $300 budget for the early pick 5 on Saturday. We're at $300 even. And this is $200 even for the pick 4, our final pick 4 ticket for the weekend. 2, 5, 8, 9, 13 with 3, 5, 8, 11 with 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 with 7, 8. That'll do it for the 14 Breeders' Cup races. Jim, this has been a blast. Before we let you go, I gotta pick your brain a little bit because I've never played in this contest. Jim is in the Breeders' Cup betting challenge this weekend. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah. That's exciting.
So how do you? Yeah, I mean, that's, first of all, that's a great accomplishment even to qualify for that because it's not easy. So congratulations to even have that $10,000 to start with, or $7,500 or whatever it is once you actually get the bankroll. And this is a broad question, but I just want you to give some of the listeners, if they're still with us after 14 races, a little bit of insight in terms of how you approach a big time contest like that.
So with this contest is 7,500 live bankroll and 2,500 goes towards the pot, of which the top 30 get paid, 25, 30 get paid. I focus on this with my 7,500. How much can I generate with what I have to start with? So the goal is obviously to get over 10,000, so you get your money back, get the 10,000 back. Anything over that, I try and hit a little bit early. A couple of conservative bets. I'll bet a couple of win, play, show bets just to get on the board and start moving up the ranks, getting a little bit back. And I'll punch it hard on the value races. So I'll do a couple of try boxes in there and try and hit something heavy with a big number, with the 20-1. Some of those horses that we talked about, I'll try and nail those. But then as the contest wears down towards the second day, you get a little bit more conservative because now it's real money. You can't, it's not paper money. Some of these online contests to qualify, you're playing with fake money. You've already paid your fee to get in and it's not real money. This you're taking home. So if you get this pool up to, 22,000, that's 22,000 in your pocket. So you want to be a little conservative, but you also want a shot to win. So you may bet, 2,000 to win on a 10 or a 12 to 1 to get yourself in contention to have a shot to win it. This is my third time doing it. It's a blast. It really is a great time. I've done it once online and once live. And this year I'm excited to do it online. Live, there's a lot, at the Breeders' Cup, there's a lot of stuff going on. And it's distracting from focusing on the contest. I would rather sit in my living room and do it. This year I'm going to do it from Mohegan Sun because the band has a show. So I'll be focusing from there, but at least I won't be at the track where I'm totally distracted.
Oh man, and we're going to be pulling for you. We're so excited. That'd be an amazing day. Go win the Breeders' Cup betting challenge and then rock the house at Mohegan Sun that night. What could be a better day than that?
Well, you're going to have a better day than me.
I hope so, man. We got 2 live shots on Friday, so best of luck to Slider and Carson's Run, all the West Point partners. Best of luck to Jim in the Breeders' Cup betting challenge. And thanks for joining me, man. This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again
anytime.
soon.
Yeah, we got to get together for a couple of cocktails soon.
We're doing it. Let's go.
Take care, man.
So that's a wrap on episode 1 of Rail Good Bets, yet another offshoot on the Rail Talk Empire. I had such a good time talking to Jim Politano, breaking down the Breeders' Cup races. Good luck to him in the Breeders' Cup betting challenge. Big honor just to participate in that, so we want to see him do as well as possible. Best of luck to John's horses this weekend, the West Point horses, everybody. Hopefully has a safe trip, comes back to the barn in one piece. That's the most important thing this weekend. Thanks to Patty Wolf, our producer, as always. Thanks to our associate producers, Anthony LaRocca, Aaliyah LaRocca, and Nathan Wilkinson. Thanks to you, the viewers and the listeners, for checking us out. And like I said, we're open for business. Come sponsor this show, and we'll see you next time on Real Good Bets.